Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. Good morning. All right. So, what's that? Oh yeah, microphone. Although I can be heard, I'm sure.
Go the other direction.
Oh, the other direction. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So I titled this "The Land of Ahas." The spiritual journey of self-discovery. So what I'm hoping is I'm going to be using the Wizard of Oz characters as different metaphors and meanings that have been interpreted over the years, and perhaps you'll get some ahas. So, The Land of Oz, or The Wizard of Oz, was written by L. Frank Baum in 1900. And then later it was adapted into the film version in 1939. And it's been adapted in many other versions since. I was in a version that a friend of mine wrote and we produced down in San Diego. And that's where that song came from. And I actually did play the Tin Man in that song, in that production that we did. And it's a story about a young girl who got swept away by a tornado to the magical land of Oz. Along the way, she meets some memorial characters who join her on her quest to find the wizard that will make their dreams come true. All right, I think, let's see. Is it the one on my right I go to? There we go. There we go. Kansas City, where our journey begins. So there we have Dorothy, and we have the farm in Kansas City, and we have the cyclone or tornado. So what we have here is Dorothy, and she represents innocence, youth, idealism that we all have within us. And sometimes it's hidden down there, but that's what she represents. And then the gray or brown of the farm, that just kind of represents kind of the dullness of life. Drab, in and out, farming, working. And Dorothy is dreaming of a better place, a better life. You know, she's aspiring. And in those times, women, you know, generally didn't do that, I guess. And that's what they were trying to portray in the film, you know, of a woman that aspires to become something. So that was also part of the women's movement too, as far as Dorothy was, like empowerment, finding her true dream, who she is. Okay, and then we have the cyclone. And that comes and wrecks everything, turns everything upside down. Like what happens in our life sometimes. A tornado comes and we end up going somewhere that we never expected. And that's what happened to Dorothy. And the tornado is kind of like the Hindu god Shiva that comes and destroys everything. And even though it's been destroyed, there's always something new that's going to happen. But we have to walk through that tunnel of faith until that new stuff starts appearing. So once again, Dorothy is trying to escape her drab, dull existence, and the tornado just happens to come along and take her. But she wasn't expecting it to come that way. And she had all kinds of things going on with Mrs. Gulch and Toto, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the story. And Toto is also representative of our basic primal nature. You know, when we were babies and we just reacted to anything. So Toto was like that. And throughout the story of the Land of Oz, you know, Toto would go and bark at the lion, at the wicked witch. He wasn't afraid, you know, because he wasn't filtered. So that's another symbol for us, for being unfiltered and getting back to that state. And then we end up in Munchkin Land. So we leave the drab, black and white, dull existence. And all of a sudden we're thrust into this magic, powerful land with all these different little people in colorful costumes, singing and dancing, just the joy of life. And then we have Glinda the Good Witch. And she's the archetype of a guardian angel. Something pure that is always watching out for us. In the background, you know, we may not know the presence is there, but there is that guardian angel. And there she is, watching out for Dorothy and making sure she's safe. And as we know, let me see if I don't want to miss anything here. Yeah, Munchkinland, a world of extremes. So Munchkinland also is extreme in color, and it's extreme in the things that happen. You know, you have this witch, and then you have these characters and stuff, and it's not like a monotone of the life where she came from Kansas City. But it's not all that it appears. Does not all that as appears. All right. So there we have our favorite character, the Wicked Witch of the West. So she is the archetype of the devil, literally. Also our ego, the accuser within us that is always accusing us, symbol of evil and the negative force. And it also represents our shadow self. Is anybody familiar with the shadow self and working with shadow work? Okay, there's a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. And if you're ever consider working on your shadows, that's a good book. This is a lot of stuff about ourselves that we don't acknowledge, that we try to push away, and we don't want to work through. We put on a happy face and move forward, and that's called our shadow self. And sometimes those things that we suppress come out in, you know, different ways like that. So that also represents us as well. All the characters in The Wizard of Oz is an aspect of ourselves. We have the innocence, we have the rawness of nature, we also have our shadow self, our ego, the accuser that tells us, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you know, you're guilty for this, you're guilty for that. So that is that archetype there. And we just want to get rid of her. Get rid of her. And we see over there that Dorothy, the house landed on her sister, the Wicked Witch of the East. Now, the Wicked Witch of the East was the ruler over the Munchkin land. And then the Wicked Witch of the West had her own land. It's not mentioned in the movie, but it was some other land, I forget what it is, something, I think, Winnet's or something like that, where her castle is. Now, that also represents oppression. The Wicked Witch represents oppression over people. It could be a political oppression, it could be a personal oppression, or your own oppression of yourself. And the Munchkins, being small, is symbolic of how we stay small when we're oppressed. When we oppress ourselves, or we allow others to oppress us, or if we feel, you know, politically oppressed in any way, we remain small, and we can't. It's harder for us to find our way and let our light shine and grow because we're oppressed. So you notice during the Wizard of Oz, there's this big celebration. You know, Dorothy killed the oppressor, the Wicked Witch of the East. And they had all this, you know, song and frivolity going on, you know. We welcome you, the Lollipop Guild and the Lullaby Guild, and you know, and all this song, and everybody's happy and rejoicing. So they felt like they were free until the Wicked Witch shows up in a ball of flame and wants those slippers. And those slippers, as we all know, go to Dorothy. Now, in the original book, the silvers were silver. They were not ruby. They were changed for the movie because Technicolor had just come out, and they wanted it to emphasize. And also, the silver slipper, I don't know exactly how I read this. It had something to do with the silver standard that we were either going onto or getting off of, and that was also part of it. There's a lot of political symbology in the movie that really makes a lot of sense, but I don't want to get into that over here. It can be offensive, but if you ever look that up and look up the political symbology in The Wizard of Oz, there's a lot there that perhaps the author was trying to say pretty much same stuff that's going on today. Not much different, same old, same old. It actually gave me comfort. I'm like, okay, no need to be upset. This just keeps going on, that's life, I guess. So then Glinda tells her to follow the yellow brick road. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road. And there she is in all her glory. And we know she's going to be in the background watching over Dorothy and Toto. And the yellow brick road is the journey of life. It's our spiritual journey. Yellow being a bright color that illuminates our path, so we can't miss it. So it's not a dark gravel or even a red. It's just a nice yellow road that we can see. Sing. Like my first time, so. All right, so she starts going down the yellow brick road, all happy and whatnot. And away they go, and we run across our first character, the Scarecrow. And you can't see it there, but there's a crossroad, as we all know. There's a yellow brick road, but it's crossing. Should I go this way? Should I go that way? And then the Scarecrow says, well, go this way. Oh, maybe go that way. And Dorothy is, who's talking to me? She's looking around. So this is a new reality for her, a scarecrow that's actually talking. In Kansas, the crows were supposed to be there to take care of the scarecrow was supposed to take care of the crows. But now he's talking to Dorothy. And so the Scarecrow also emphasizes the importance of intelligence and being able to have a mind that makes good, healthy decisions and not discarding our own growth as far as learning goes, but to take charge of our whatever it is we're studying or learning, our spiritual growth, and not just be passive, hanging around trying to scare off the crows. And also, if you notice with the Scarecrow, he's just, I think out of all the characters, he's one of the more lively ones. He dances around, he sings, he falls apart, and so it's also, not to take our lives too seriously, but to have some fun and frivolity. And then this next one, the Tin Man. Tin Man, does anybody have a heart? He wants a heart. He's willing to have it be broken and be vulnerable just to have a heart. He wants to know what that feels like. So I want to talk a little bit about this because this is where I could relate to the Tin Man. When I was living down in San Diego, Paula had written The Land of Oz, and she played me that song, and she says, would you like to sing it? And I go, yeah. And I was thinking, she was thinking for church service. And she goes, I would like you to sing it and play the part of the Tin Man. And I was like, I want to sing it, but I don't want to go be in this production and everything. But I said yes. I said yes. So at that point, I was in a interesting phase in my life. In the early 1900s, I started experiencing panic attacks. I mean, 1990s. I'm older than you think. So in the early 1990s, I started experiencing panic attacks. And it got to be pretty bad. I was able to get them under control and then got a job and was able to work. And then in the early 2000s, they reasserted themselves really bad. And I ended up leaving my job. And I found a group that helped me get that under control. But my musical stuff was just put on the back burner for many years. I didn't care if I ever did music again. I just wanted to function like a normal human being. It's like I wasn't even thinking about music. I just want to be able to get out of the house. And so when she asked me to do the Tin Man, that was a real stretch for me. And had to memorize the lines and sing the song and makeup and all that other stuff. But what happened was, because of the support and love of the community, that was the oil that loosened me up. You know, I was rusted. I was still because of, you know, the anxiety that I had experienced. But there was love there and kindness and someone who really believed in me. Paula really believed in me and wanted me to play the part. She could see something in me that I couldn't see in myself at that time because of what I was going through. So I went ahead and took the part, and it was a real magical experience. We had a cast of, I don't know, maybe about 40. We did 3 weekends, I think 3 shows. Tin Man song got a standing ovation every time. I mean, it was a, yeah, it was a tearjerker. It was a, you know, it was a tearjerker. And so I just wanted to share that personal part of myself that, you know, metaphorically, sometimes we need others to come and oil us. You know, we're frozen. It could be a friend, it could be a therapist, counselor, you know, whatever is needed to get oiled and get loosened up again so we can get going back in life. And there's times like with the Tin Man when he was in the poppy field and it started raining again, and then he froze up again. So life does that. It rains on us again, or something happens and we put up our guards and we freeze up again. Then once again, get some oil in there. And sometimes we're strong enough where we could oil ourselves, or we know where to go to nourish our souls, whether that's in meditation or a place in nature. You know, connecting with nature is like connecting with God, obviously, because that's God's creation. And we become one with that. My father used to say, if you want to heal yourself, go to nature. And I would look at him like, what is he talking about? Go to nature? I need to go to the doctor. And but now that he's gone, and I'm free to take in his bits of wisdom without my defenses up. So now I understand. So once again, the Tin Man, looking for a heart, willing to be open and vulnerable. Are we willing to be open and vulnerable again? As we get older, you know, we get closed up. Our hearts get closed up. So we're almost like the Tin Man, like not having a heart. It's there, but, you know, it's life. You know, we, you know, have all kinds of things happen to us. None of us gets out of it. So, but, you know, we want to keep ourselves lubricated the best we can to get our way through this life. Okay, we'll move on to the Cowardly Lion. Ruff, ruff. Mr. Lion, so tough. When Dorothy slaps him on the nose, he starts crying. Yeah, and Harry has a good imitation of that. If you. And in his song, he says, "I'm just destined to be a dandelion." And I thought, I'm thinking, well, maybe that was your destiny, to be a dandelion. You don't have to fit the stereotype. So that's another thing, you know, we try to fit the stereotypes of what we're supposed to be. You know, a husband, a wife, a mother, a worker bee, or whatever. You know, we got all these stereotypes that we put ourselves in. And so maybe he was a dandelion. He wasn't meant to be one that goes around, you know, roaring and scaring people, but somebody who's kind and understanding in a lion's outfit. So he was very unique that way. And Yeah, I don't think I have any more for that. And I wanted to go back to Glinda for a while. There was one line she said that just struck me as so funny. When the Wicked Witch started threatening her, she goes, "Rubbish! You have no power here. Be gone before somebody drops a house on you too." Wicked Witch starts looking around up in the air like a house is going to drop on her, you know. So I love some of those lines. It's great. So now they go on their journey. The Tin Man wants a heart. The Scarecrow wants a brain. The Lion wants courage. And they're on their way to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. But then we stumble across this person again. There she goes, blocking the way. The oppressor, the accuser, the destroyer, Shiva. She throws a ball of fire at the Scarecrow, and he starts, catching fire, and everybody gets on top and puts it out and, helps him and whatnot. And once again, just a journey of friends supporting one another, putting out the fires when we're in a weak spot. There they were. Once again, the Wicked Witch is part of the repressed parts of ourselves that may not been processed. It's the inner judge, the accuser that pops up. So now we end up at Emerald City. Let's see time's flying by pretty quick. Okay, I better speed this up. I thought I wouldn't have enough stuff to talk about. All right, so they go to Emerald City, and, they struggle, and they get there, and then they clean them all up. They welcome them in, and, all this merriment and singing and whatnot, and the horse of a different color. And it was a purple horse. And I go, "That's the horse of a different color, dear say," they talk about. And they go to see the wizard. And the wizard's like this mean ogre thing with fire and whatnot, and they want them to go back and get the broom of the Wicked Witch. And it's like, they struggled enough to get there. Now they got to get this broom. So we know that the wizard is just kind of stalling because he thinks, well, they're never going to get the broom, so they'll just leave me alone. But they go on their journey to get the broom, melt the witch, bring the broom back. So they did all that, and then deception, disappointment, despair. They find out that the Wizard of Oz was a fraud. It was all smoke and mirrors. And they're like, "Well, you promised me a brain, you promised me a heart, you promised me courage." So the wizard comes out, and he gives them what they need, but in a different way. He helps them to realize that everything they've been looking for is already within them. So what he does, he gives them these tokens, these anchors, a physical thing that they could remember. So he gives the Scarecrow, I believe it was a diploma. Yeah, and for the Tin Man, they gave him this ticking heart on a chain. And for the Lion, they gave him a medal of courage. So these physical objects were anchors that reminded them that they have this within them. Of course, at the time, I don't think they realized it was within them, but those objects made those qualities come out. So sometimes we need something, to remind us. It may be a stone or a quartz or, a holy object or something, or even a word, that we anchor, that we can hold on to, that means something, that reminds us of the divine within ourselves, that we don't have to look anywhere. Everything's right in our own backyard. And so Dorothy is despondent because she's like, "You don't have anything for me." But the whole thing, as we know, she does have it. It's the ruby slippers, but she didn't know it yet. So along comes her guardian angel, Glinda, and tells her to click her heels, and she'll go home. And that's what she does. She clicks her heels and goes home. And whether it was the magic of the shoes or the magic of the belief, that she was able to go home. And she wakes up, and it turned out the whole thing was a dream. And there she is, back in that drab place. Yeah, and all the characters are there. And she goes on and on about how she loves them and how she's happy to see them. And this is another thing that I learned about this, is that they show this because a lot of times we try to escape our reality and go to the glitzy and the glamour and go to the movies or do this and distract ourselves. And we don't find the joy in our daily living. Could be washing the dishes, could be with a pet, or even mowing the lawn. There's that book called Chop Wood, Carry Water, being present in everything you do, not necessarily looking at it as a chore. So even though we may be living in a world that is many, many shades of gray, the divine is with us through all that, whatever struggles we're going through. And it's a journey to the heart. The yellow brick road. This is a journey to the heart. Let me see if I have anything here to wrap it up. And I think that's it. You're always home. You're always home. You've never strayed away. It's just a matter of clicking your heels or whatever you do, maybe snapping your fingers, and know that you're home. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.